world is nuts right now. It feels nuts. I know it's always nuts. It feels nuts. Without naming companies or whatever. Not only are like layoffs happening, but you're like hearing about like there's gonna be a layoff. Like there's news stories for a whole cycle about how like, oh yeah, layoffs coming for certain big companies. So not even reporting on something that happened, reporting on what like is going to happen. It's a lot of uncertainty in the world, in business. How do you stay focused on growth with all this noise?
How should a person, or how do we at Princeton?
I guess I meant you, Mark Gordon, but
Okay.
in a way, that's sort of all of it.
So it's funny. So I was just meeting with our new underwriting management group right before here, and I had a meeting. And earlier, they're in our office. They're going through kind of orientation and planning. And I popped my head in. They're talking about compensation plans and bonuses for underwriters, and they're kind of going through it. And then I was like, and they were like, well, your old bonus plan factored in all this overtime, and there's no overtime right now, and so we don't need to factor that in. And I said, okay, so if there's a refi boom next week, are you gonna change the comp plan right immediately for the overtime? And one of the new managers goes, there's not gonna be a refi boom next week. And I was like, don't you ever. And she was like, what? I'm like, we are not in the prediction business here. We are in the prepare for all possible outcomes business, and we are the team that sees reality the best wins. And we are to prepare for the things that are coming at us and to be flexible and nimble and humble about where those things are going to go. Nobody saw a pandemic coming. Nobody thought Russia was going to invade Ukraine. And no one sees the next awful thing that could potentially happen or not happen that may make rates go up or go down or go sideways or whatever else it is. My job is to continue to work within the constraints of our reality, which is the amount of cash that we have as a company, what our goals are, where we're going to, what we're capable of doing, what our team's capable of doing, and continue to make the best decisions every single day to move us towards our penultimate goal of 50,000 loans a year by 2028. And so today, and probably for the foreseeable future, that means two things. One, adding more high caliber, high quality loan officers, and two, helping the current loan officers we have increase their individual production. And none of those things have anything to do with the market. There are just tried and truisms of, hey, listen, 70% of people still find their realtor through their sphere of influence, either because they know a realtor or because somebody they know knows a realtor, and that's 70%. And then 70% of those people find their loan officer as a recommendation from that realtor. And those things have been the same for the entire time I've been in the business, and a whole lot longer than that. And people have been predicting the end of those things since the internet came out, and they haven't changed. That 30% of the pie is changing all the time. People are fighting over it. That's great. But the core 70% of people, which, by the way, don't want to have to go figure out how to buy a house on their own. They want a realtor, and they want it to be someone they trust, and they want to get a mortgage, and they want to get it from someone that someone at least knows and trusts. That has not gone anywhere. And so we're going to continue to focus on, from a recruiting standpoint, how we can identify which loan officers are the right fit for Princeton, and then increasing our value proposition so that those loan officers want to join. And then we have some very exciting things we're working on here in Q2 that we think are going to take our loan officers to a completely different level in terms of their ability to reach out to their realtor base and become their preferred borrowing partners.
I think you give a really great overview there. You dug into the way Princeton sees it. It's something that was very appealing to me as when I was joining Princeton, is just that sort of mindset, like, whatever team sees reality best wins, and just trying to think in that point of view. And so I definitely, again, it's I work for Princeton, so I guess it means less because it's coming from me. But like that, I have full faith in, and in general. And I
Maybe
feel
it means more because you work here. You get to see the crazy people who work here and you still believe.
That's true. I should start a separate podcast where it's like the truth about Princeton, and then I'm like, no, it's actually pretty good. I got to be honest with you. The truth is, it's good. It's really good. The people here are cool. They're doing a good job. They mean what they say. No, but like so that part is great. I guess going even further for people listening to this that are, by its very nature, regardless of how much you're supported, being a loan officer, being a real estate agent, there's got to be that intrinsic self-motivation, right? Being a business owner in general. You have to you're getting up, you're getting the work done, you got to keep plugging away. That's a reality that you've known very well, that you've lived in for a very long time. How do you mark, I guess, with like tune out the noise and keep that faith of like, nope, just plugging ahead, and this is what I'm doing. Not to get too personal, but like, do you have any insight into that? Because I can imagine people sitting there, seeing the market shrinking, seeing the world being crazy, and maybe some people almost feeling frozen. Like, what? I don't even know what to do.
So this is one of those things where like it's been pretty natural for me, and it comes from my background in sports. And so you're a sports guy, and so I'll simplify it the best way that I can. I played an 8th grade football game against our rival, Westfield versus Plainfield. And it rained so bad and so hard for so long that the lines on the field disappeared. We were all running in 6 inches of mud. It was crazy. We ran a single wing offense at the time, and I was the center. And that means that every snap is a shotgun snap, and it's a leading shotgun snap. There's a fullback and a tailback, and you're snapping directly to one of them. There's 2 players. You snap to one or the other. And they are usually already moving and running when you snap, so you're leading them on the snaps. Ton of pressure in the center in a normal game. Way more pressure in a game where you can barely get the football. I also don't have the biggest hands for a guy my size, and so I'm dealing with the football. And you have 2 choices in that moment. You can start to feel really bad for yourself and make a bunch of excuses, or you can focus and hunker down and realize that the other center is dealing with the same mud and the same ball and the same everything, and you got to find a way to come out on top. Everybody played on a muddy field that day. Westfield won, right? And we didn't win a lot of games that year, but we won that one. I remember celebrating the locker room afterwards covered in mud. There are pictures somewhere. And in sports, the field is the same. Everyone's dealing with the same stuff, and there's different elements all the time, but it's the same field. And so I choose to, now you can look at life one of 2 ways. You can say your own circumstances are different and unique and you're playing on your own field. And to some extent that might be true, but focusing on that leads you to focusing on a bunch of things that you can't control. I choose to focus on the things that I can control, and I've been doing that in a very, I started out working in call centers. Everyone was getting 4 or 5 leads a day, and they were getting those leads, and some people were selling 5 loans a week, and some people couldn't sell any loans every week, and they were out of a job. And those people blamed the leads. And I'm like, guys, if it's the leads every week, it's a round robin. I'm getting the same leads that you're getting. I guarantee if we switch leads, I would still be doing what I'm doing, and you'd still be doing what you're doing. And so how I stay focused is I focus on the things that I can control. Now, are there certain world events that like grab my attention, and do I have incredible compassion and empathy for different people that are going through different things? 100%. But I'm very focused on what I can do for those people or this situation, that situation, and I'm very focused. Like sometimes I can't do anything other than feel, for those people, or vote, those types of things. But I'm generally just focused on the things that I can control. And when life gets really big, I start to get caught up in the uncertainty of it all. I start to get very focused on what I am certain about, which is the most important thing to me is me and my family, being able to provide for my friends, the people close to me, the people I work with who deserve the best version of me they can get. And so I write down my gratitudes in the morning, and I focus myself, and I do the best I can. And I've had some days recently where you wake up and think about somebody in Ukraine waking up and trying to figure out what they're grateful for today, what they're going to go to battle for, and those things certainly impact me. And then when you think about that, you're like, what do you mean there's uncertainty here today, right? I'm going to be able to feed myself. I'm going to be able to take care of my kids. I'm going to be able to go to work. Even if by my definition it all fell apart.
Right.
What does that mean, right? And so I try to keep perspective in that way. And here's the last piece of it. We're going to have recessions and we're going to have economic boom. Assuming that I live as long as I would like to live, I'm going to see all sorts of this and that, right? It's not what happens to you, it's how you interact. And there are going to be winners and losers and all those different things. And I'm focused on the things that I can do to come out on top, and not in some like crazy competitive way. It's just if I'm going to keep showing up every day and playing the sport, I'm going to do the best job I possibly can.